If you want to understand where technology, money, and humanity are headed next, stay with this. It's going to be worth it.
And so you said that our expertise is in making things better, faster, cheaper than other people.
This is Ron Barron, a billionaire investor, founder of Barron Capital, and one of Tesla's earliest and most loyal shareholders. And this is Elon Musk, CEO of Tesla, SpaceX, Neuralink, xAI, and X, the man currently reshaping 5 industries at once. Their friendship began when most doubted Elon. Now they meet again to talk about what comes next. What you're about to see is a raw, unscripted conversation between two men who've bet everything on the future and are building it in real time.
Elon's mic is a little rough here, but this is the authentic audio. We'll keep it moving.
And when I started investing in Tesla, when we started investing in Tesla, you were telling us that it's the machine that makes the machine. That's most important. The machine that makes, so you were into machine learning, machine technology then, which is 15 years ago. And now the average car, I think, is 50 seconds, 40 seconds, 60 seconds, and we're now 35 seconds. Every 35 seconds, the car rolls off. And then you say that we're going to get down to 10 seconds, and you said it's a possibility we can go to 5. Every car is rolling off a line. How does that happen?
I certainly see a path to achieving a roughly 5,000 milliseconds or 5 seconds, which is only really walking speed. That's like sort of a fast walk. 1 meter per second is a fast walk. The car is less than 5 meters long. So 5 second cycle time, the cars will be exiting the line at walking speed. You can run away from them. It's not going to be like they're coming out like bullets or something. As a rough rule of thumb, 10,000 minutes in a week, if you run a 24/7 operation and you get, let's say 10 cars per minute, you've got 100,000 cars a week.
So, but the question is, how come we're able to do this? Do other people just not care? Or they think that, gee, if I do something, if I have this idea and we try to implement it and it doesn't work, then I'm not going to get promoted, or I can get fired, or I'll get blamed. And if it works, then I'm going to have to do a lot of extra work that I wouldn't know how to do if it didn't work. So why don't other people have, a mindset of making things better? Why the Chinese, they've been great at copying us. And in some instances, probably even done better than us after they've copied the first time. But how come do you think that other people haven't been able to make the advances we have? And even the guy from Ford just recently said the people and the Chinese have copied us. And those people in China are doing great, which is really compliments us, because the reason they're doing great is because of us. Why doesn't he do that?
Most companies are incrementalists. The management team wants to do, 5%, maybe 10% better than last year, as opposed to take big risks that could fail. Obviously, I don't have a problem with risks.
Yeah, I say.
And I like to use the tools of physics to analyze things. And, when I was in the factory one night and I was looking at the factory and I was like, this could be much more efficient. It could be much faster. Just trying to rough math, trying to calculate the volumetric efficiency of the factory, to divide the factory into cubic meters and say how many cubic meters are doing something useful. And it's a surprisingly small percentage. So the volumetric density is not very good. And then the speed of the cars and the parts moving is quite slow, generally limited by the speed at which people can, say, attach brake lights or a seat or something like that. So you densify the factory and improve the volumetric efficiency, which is helpful for production efficiency because things have less distance to move. Just like a chip, you densify the circuits in a chip, you're more efficient. You think of a factory is like a chip. How do you make a chip faster? Well, you bring the circuits closer together, make them smaller, and and increase the clock speed.
So Robin told me that you told her once that I think of myself as a bit. And if I'm a bit, how would I like to travel? That makes sense.
A bit or an atom. If it's a software or if I'm on a ship, I say, what's the journey of the bit? What am I doing? If this journey doesn't make sense, I need to fix it.
On this channel, I show valuable, practical and interesting information that can improve people's lives. At the Baron Capital Conference on November 14th, 2025, Elon Musk revealed a vision of the future that most people are still unprepared to imagine. A future where a man who lost his legs could stand, walk, dance, and even run faster than a human, using a pair of Optimus robot legs powered by a brain implant.
I sent you a year or two ago an article about a young man who was in an interview in Barron's, and he was 33 at the time, and he'd become a portfolio manager, and he lost his legs to man-eating bacteria. And I said, is there anything we can do to get him out of the wheelchair? And you said, yes, there is. In 3 or 4 years, we can give him an Optimus body, and then we can use transistors in his head, in his brain, to let him function as a normal person, dance and sing and walk and run. Have we been able to make progress in that area?
Yeah, so that's a confluence of two of my companies. One is being Neuralink, and the other being Tesla. So Neuralink is also making good progress. It now has, I think, over 10 patients with Neuralink implants. And these people who didn't have the ability to move their arms or legs, in some cases, were completely locked in, like Stephen Hawking. And they can now communicate, I think, as quickly, almost as quickly as we're communicating right now, which is very cool. And that's going to continue to accelerate. So what we can do is use a Neuralink implant that is taking signals from the motor cortex of the brain and also receiving signals from this somatosensory cortex, give someone who's lost their legs Optimus legs. And so I mean, we're really getting like the $6 million man here, I mean, from back in the day. I don't know if you watched that show, but I watched it.
I watched it.
Yeah, that was pretty fun. We can actually give someone superhuman cyborg capabilities, like the $6 million man, but less than $6 million. Even in this day and age. I mean, $6 million back then was a fortune. These days, this is like nothing. But we're much less than that. I mean, like for something that would be reasonable and affordable, it might be more like $60,000 type of thing. And you can take the signals from the Neuralink, the mind, that would be transmitting to the legs and transmit those to the attached Optimus robot legs. You would actually be able to run faster than a human. Just like $6 million man.
Patients who couldn't move or speak are now communicating almost at natural speed, using nothing but their thoughts. The system reads brain signals, interprets intention, and turns it into action. Today, that helps paralyzed patients type and control devices. Tomorrow, it may let a human control an entire robotic body.
So when you say you're working on weekends, I spend all my Sundays working on a chip. What does that mean? What do you do?
It's Saturdays, but sometimes Sundays actually. It's past. Recent weekends has been Sundays too. Yeah, just the AI5 chip, which is going to be a great chip. Well, Tesla hinges on that chip. You know, that's the chip that will go into our next generation of self-driving cars. And it's also essential for the Optimus robot. But I have more ideas in my head than I know what to do with, frankly. I think we'll make some moves that are not on the chessboard, that people don't anticipate. Some creative moves. I should point out, the Grok right now, Grok Heavy, is still the smartest AI, to the best of my knowledge. Now, Grok 4 Heavy is where we spawn several agents. They work in parallel. They compare their output, like a study group, and give you the final conclusion. And it keeps getting better. And now we've begun training on Grok 5. Grok 5, I think, will be the smartest AI in the world by a significant margin on every metric, without exception. I might be wrong, but I think that will be the case. And that will be in
Grok 5.
Yes. Grok 5 is the first time where I thought, well, we have a non-zero chance of achieving artificial general intelligence. Not that it's a high chance. I calculate like 10%, but that's what my biological neural net comes up with, which still means 90% chance that we don't, to be fair. But I've never thought that before. And so for the first time, I think, like, well, this really could be general intelligence, at least a small chance. Grok 5 will really be something special. And it'll be both extremely intelligent and extremely fast. So one of the things that we're doing that I think is interesting is Encyclopedia, which we're going to rename down the road to be Encyclopedia Galactica, in honor of Isaac Asimov and Douglas Adams. The idea of Galactica is to create an open source repository of all knowledge, like a distillation of all knowledge. And open source meaning anyone can access it, anyone can use it, and if other people want to train on it, they can do so. Create copies of this and distribute these copies throughout it, and even put them on the moon and Mars and out in deep space as, in a way, sort of a modern-day Library of Alexandria. It was the great tragedy that the Library of Alexandria was burnt down. So in order to preserve this knowledge, I think we want to literally etch it in stone and distribute it widely. So in the worst case scenario, you can see what we learned and pick things up from there.
So is there a major breakthrough that you can describe that allows us to do this with Grok 5? Is it just speed? Is it more compute and therefore we have more, information we can train on? What is the breakthrough that allows us to have this 10% chance for AGI? Is there a breakthrough, or is it just speed and access to data?
There's a couple of things. It will be the largest model, to best my knowledge. So this is a 6 trillion parameter model, whereas Grok 3 and 4 are based on a 3 trillion parameter model. Moreover, this trillion parameters will have a much higher intelligence density per gigabyte than Grok 4. Like, this is an important metric to think about: intelligence per gigabyte and intelligence per trillion operations. Quality of the data that we're training on with Grok 5 is much higher. It's also inherently multimodal, so it's text, pictures, video, audio. It's got to be much better at tool use, and in fact, creating tools to be more effective at answering questions and understanding. Its vision will be extremely good. It'll have real-time video, which is, I think, a really fundamentally important thing. Only other AIs can understand real-time. And I think if you can't do that, which humans can obviously do, you really can't achieve AGI.
By the way,
There's some special source items that I can't talk about in a public forum, obviously. You can't give away all the secrets here, just between us. But we have a few other special things that are in the works for Grok 5. So it's really, I feel sentient.
so when we're Grok 5, when you're talking about the advances, there is no limit. So when we're Grok 5 is better than Grok 4, which is better than Grok 3, but it keeps going. Once we get to sentient levels, we go 2 sentient, 5 sentient, 10 sentient, 1 million.
Right. The sentience will grow. I mean, what's really mind-blowing is how far can the sentience grow? To your point, how far does it go? I think it goes immensely far, almost incomprehensibly far. Like we see paths to putting 100 gigawatts per year of solar-powered AI satellite into orbit. And having this be actually the lowest cost way to power and operate AI at a very large scale. For reference, the United States consumes roughly 460 gigawatts on average per year. Like the average power load in the U.S. is 460.
The whole country.
All electricity of all sources in the U.S.
And you're talking about 100 being added.
Well, roughly a quarter of this electricity output. We have a plan mapped out to do that. It gets crazy.
So there's, a trillion planets like Earth, or the solar system, whatever you call it, trillion. And in that trillion, so Big Bang was 14 billion years ago, 13.5 billion years ago, and our planet's only 4 billion years old. So there must be other planets that are like ours with all the minerals, oxygen, hydrogen, silicon, carbon. So life here has been extinguished 4 times. And presumably you feel that other places, other civilizations, other planets, then we'll get off of this, exist. And are they planets where the beings there are part human or part carbon and part metal?
Well, I think we'd like to find out. I'd like to find out. I mean, my philosophy is one of curiosity. I just want to know what's going on in this universe. Is the standard physics correct about the beginning of the universe? Are there other alien civilizations? Can we talk to them? And what questions should we be asking about reality that we don't know to ask? So that's my mission, is to expand consciousness to better understand the universe.
So you were one of the founders, the 2 founders of ChatGPT and OpenAI, and you had a disagreement, and it was founded as a charity, and it was your idea that you wanted to make sure that freedom of speech and all the things that you deem important for good lives on our planet were followed, safety. And the other founder, what he tried to do and did was accomplished, is that he got control, even though it was your money, and he got control, and he said, Elon, I'd like you to stay. And you said, I want to go. I don't want to be a part of this. And he offered you some ownership, and you said, I don't want it. And so here you walk away from an ownership of ChatGPT. So you're obviously not doing all this stuff for money. I mean, you are, but I mean, that's not. But I mean, if it were only about money, you would have never left with something that's worth $500 billion by itself. And so here you're forming this new entity to accomplish what you wanted ChatGPT to accomplish, but you think that we have an advantage in this because of the data, because of the compute, because of what? What are you going to do with this ultimately? So you talk about connecting physical world to digital. What does that mean?
Yeah, well, just going back to OpenAI for a second. The reason I founded OpenAI was because I was concerned, based on my conversations with Larry Page, who used to be a close friend of mine, that he was not sufficiently concerned about the dangers of AI. This really came to a head when, at my birthday party, he, in front of a large group of people, called me a speciesist for favoring humanity over computers. I find that troubling. It's like, Larry, what side are you on? It sounds like you're on the side of the computers, but you really need to be on Team Humanity here, So after that, I was like, okay, this is it. We got to have some counterbalance to Google, because Larry doesn't seem to care if humans make it or not. So I thought, what's the opposite of Google? It would be an open source nonprofit. And that's where the word open in OpenAI comes from. It means open source. And I provided all the money, like whatever the Series A, B, C rounds, and recruited the key people like Elias Utskaya, and taught them everything I know. And, I actually even got them to deal with Microsoft, with Satya. Actually, I got Satya to donate some time from Azure. And for all that, I did not seek any financial reward whatsoever. The reason I actually turned down the offer for shares is because I felt like nonprofits are supposed to have shares. At least last time I heard. Our nonprofits are not supposed to be self-enrichment. That's why I took on the offer of shares, because didn't seem morally or legally defensible. With XAI, we are starting late with XAI. We're only 2.5 years old, basically. We're starting from behind. We are somewhat of an dog. But they're pretty good with technology. So I don't want to pat myself on the back here, but I'm pretty good with technology. And we are advancing faster than anyone. So I think for technology ventures, the winner ultimately is the one that is able to move fastest.
We think that we're optimizing for the best technology and we're doing something different than others in a digital world, and we're physical to digital with movements and visual, and other people can't match that. And also we have the real-time data. What does that mean? Why should we do better than everyone else? Why are we going to win? Or why are we going to at least be different than everyone else so we have a really strong business?
Well, first of all, I think it doesn't mean a strong business. I'm actually not too worried about that. Even a small player that is successful in AI will be worth a lot because they will contribute so much in productivity to the economy. So it's actually pretty easy to achieve. Not pretty easy, but I mean, there will be many companies that are worth sustainably several $100 billion. Sustainably. So then several questions of like, well, how do we achieve the lead? That comes down to three things. Are you able to attract the best talent? Are you able to bring the most amount of AI hardware online? Can you bring GPUs online faster than anyone else? And we've already demonstrated that we can do that. Jensen Huang himself said that he was blown away by how fast XA launched this data center.
Jensen said there's only one human on the planet who could have done that.
Yes, he did say that.
It made us think about...
I keep telling people I'm an alien, but nobody believes me. I mean, when I got my green card, it said alien registration card. So, I mean, I have this from the government. So, let's say I've got some like relatively skills these days in America in terms of getting hardware built. If you look at the biggest successes in manufacturing in America since World War II, by far, are Tesla and SpaceX.
So the idea of connecting physical and digital is that's different than digital, figuring out who wants to buy what. We're doing something entirely different. Is that fair?
I wouldn't say we're doing something entirely different. We're doing something that are the same, some things that are different. If I'm just saying the elements that define success for an AI company are going to be, one, the talent, two, the hardware, how much hardware can you bring to bear? That's actually a very big deal. And we've shown that we're the best at doing that at XAI. And then third, unique access to data. And for that, we've got the X system, formerly the Twitter system, which is by far the best source of real-time data in the world. Those are some pretty significant assets. Come up with some very innovative ideas.
So full self-driving drives just like a person, as opposed to having to code to look for every circumstance that would happen for someone walking his dog while he's driving along. You have to identify everything with a code. What AI does, what we do, is as I understand it, is to make sure that it's just like us. Is that fair?
Yes. The key to achieving full self-driving much safer than a human is improving the AI software in the car. We're confident that the AI hardware, that's the chip that we designed, currently made by Sam, it is capable of achieving a safety level unsupervised, meaning if you're asleep in the car, at least 2 to 3 times that of the average driver. Maybe more. And then with AI 5, we think we can achieve probably a 10x improvement in safety. So these are really big deals. I mean, I think it's like one of the very profound things that I'm saying here. And I really encourage people to go out there and try Tesla self-driving and see for yourself. You can just go to any Tesla store, they'll show it to you, It's not a secret.
Everyone here you're benefiting if you try this and then buy it. But once you try it, you're going to buy it.
Yeah. So we're now kind of insisting with customers for safety reasons that we demonstrate full self-driving, because the numbers are unequivocal at scale that with now over 10 billion miles driven, that it's 4 times on full self-driving than not. So it's actually a big improvement in safety. At this point, we're just insisting that we at least demonstrate self-driving to customers so they know how to use it and turn it on. With AI and robotics, there will be a balance role. So it's people actually, I think, in fact, in a benign scenario, there's going to be an interesting threshold that robotics pass where it's run out of things to do for humans.
Elon said a person with no mobility could potentially receive robotic legs directly controlled by their brain. Not just restored movement, but superhuman movement. He compared it to the $6 million man, except the real-world cost could be around $60,000. In this vision, Neuralink becomes the interface. Optimus becomes the body. And together they challenge everything we believe about human limitation. But Elon didn't stop at the human body. He shifted to xAI, his new artificial intelligence company. He said that winning in AI comes down to 3 things: attracting the best talent, bringing massive amounts of hardware online faster than anyone else, and using the most valuable data stream on Earth. Real-time global conversation. He revealed that xAI built one of the largest GPU clusters in the world, and Grok, their AI model, is training at a scale that shocked NVIDIA's CEO. Grok 5 will be a 6 trillion parameter, multimodal, real-time model designed to reason like a group of parallel minds. For the first time ever, Elon said he believes there is a non-zero chance Grok 5 could reach artificial general intelligence. He estimates around a 10% chance, not a guarantee, but a possibility humanity has never confronted before. Then he introduced Grokpedia, a project he wants to evolve into something called the Encyclopedia Galactica, a complete open-source archive of human knowledge. He wants copies stored across Earth, the Moon, Mars and deep space, a modern Library of Alexandria that can never be erased. But as far into the future as these ideas feel, Elon shifted back to something happening right now: manufacturing. He described how Tesla is redesigning factories the way engineers design microchips, making them denser, faster and more efficient. His goal is a production line where a new car rolls out every 5 seconds, literally at walking speed. To him, the factory is the real product. The car is simply the output. He also addressed full self-driving. With over 10 billion miles of training data, FSD now shows safety improvements roughly 4 times better than the average human driver. That's why Tesla has started insisting on demonstrating FSD to new customers, because the safety benefits are no longer theoretical. They're proven. And finally, Elon explained the motivation behind all of this. He isn't building robots, rockets and AI for luxury or status. He doesn't own a vacation home. He lives in a small, simple house near his rocket facility. He said his mission is to expand human consciousness, to make sure humanity survives, grows, and explores the universe. You don't have to agree with everything he says, but you do need to understand the world he's building, because it's the world we're all going to be living in. Robotic limbs, brain-machine interfaces, AI models that learn faster than humans, factories that behave like computers, and the real possibility that artificial general intelligence is no longer a distant idea, but an approaching reality. This future is unfolding right now, and the people who understand it early will be the ones who benefit the most. Subscribe. I focus on providing valuable, practical, and interesting information that can improve people's lives.